Hello everyone. Welcome to my channel. Please subscribe and keep watching more details. Todd and Julie Chrisley shell-shocked by guilty verdict. Chrisley Knows Best stars Todd and Julie Chrisley were shell-shocked by guilty verdict. How are they dealing with possible prison time? Keep reading for all the details. Chrisley Knows Best stars close ranks. For the most part, the Chrisley family has kept quiet in the days after Todd and Julie's shocking guilty verdict. The affluent reality stars went to trial last month on charges of tax evasion and bank fraud. After 3 weeks of testimony, they were found guilty on Tuesday, June 7th. They are currently on home confinement, unable to leave their home. Amid the legal hardships, the family seems to be closing ranks. The couple's daughter Savannah was spotted delivering food. Monsters and Critics reports that Savannah's ex-fiancé Nick Curdiles stopped by Todd and Julie's Nashville home to offer support. Fans may recall how the Chrisley family stood by Curdiles during his mental health crisis earlier this year. Chase Chrisley was also on food delivery. He was spotted dropping off groceries for his parents. Todd and Julie Chrisley shell-shocked by guilty verdict. Todd and Julie Chrisley may not have spoken to the press directly since their verdict. However, shortly after the jury's decision, the couple's lawyer shared plans to appeal. Now sources close to the family are giving insight into Todd and his wife's mindset. According to an insider, the Chrisley Knows Best stars are in limbo until their October sentencing hearing. Any future planning in Todd and Julie's life is pretty much on pause until they learn of the sentencing in the fall, the source told Us Weekly. Furthermore, the reality stars didn't expect a guilty verdict. Chrisley Knows Best is among the highest-rated shows on the USA Network. It's so popular that it was renewed for season 10 shortly before the trial started in May. The network has yet to reveal if they will still go ahead with a new season. However, they are continuing plans to air the remaining new episodes of season 9 as scheduled starting June 23rd. Todd and Julie's reality TV careers are also on pause. In addition to their flagship show, Todd was slated to host a dating show on E! Called Love Limo. No one knows what's going to happen or what to do at this stage. The Family Insider revealed about Chrisley Knows Best and Love Limo. Us Weekly further revealed that season 10 hasn't started filming yet. Could they film while under house arrest? Not likely. Them being in home confinement puts a huge wedge between filming anything outside of their home, the insider said about the idea. Where Lindsay Chrisley stands with her father now. Perhaps one silver lining to the trial and outcome is the status of Todd's relationship with his daughter from a previous marriage. The outspoken television personality has been feuding with estranged daughter, Lindsay, for years. However, she testified for the defense during the trial. It seems their relationship is at least civil now. The courtroom felt impossibly small, not because of its size but because of the weight snapping through the air like a live wire. Every creak of a wooden bench, every whisper from the gallery, every rustle of the judge's robe seemed magnified as the verdict was read. Todd and Julie Chrisley sat hand in hand, their fingers clenched so tightly together it was impossible to tell where one grip ended and the other began. When the words "guilty on all counts" thundered through the room, the world stopped. Julie's breath hitched. Todd's jaw went slack. Their attorneys stiffened, as if bracing for a storm they knew they couldn't outrun. Savannah, sitting a few rows behind her parents, felt her chest collapse inward. Chase swallowed hard, eyes bouncing between his parents and the judge as if waiting for someone, anyone, to declare this a cruel misunderstanding. But reality didn't bend for the Chrisleys today. They were shell-shocked. Frozen. Suspended in a moment too heavy to hold. The fall of the family titans. Todd Chrisley had always been a man of control, pristine, polished, a master of image. His entire world was built on the idea that he could outtalk, outcharm, or outstrategize any challenge thrown at him. But the platform beneath him had shifted. He blinked slowly at the jury, almost as if studying their faces, trying to understand how he had lost their favor. His mind spun, hearing echoes of every testimony, every document, every accusation. Yet none of it felt real until now. Until those words locked around him like invisible chains. Julie, usually the calm in his storm, was trembling. The woman whose southern grace and warm steadiness grounded the entire family now looked like her soul had been knocked loose. Her lips parted, but no sound came. She stared straight ahead, her vision blurred by tears that refused to fall. Todd squeezed her hand tighter. "Baby," he whispered, but the word broke apart in his throat. Julie could barely hear him. All she could think about was Grayson and Chloe, their sweet, innocent faces waiting at home. What would she tell them? How would she explain something even she couldn't comprehend? Savannah takes the blow. When the judge dismissed the jury, Savannah finally stood. Her legs were unsteady, her heart in her mouth. Watching her parents from behind the rail felt like a nightmare. One she couldn't wake up from no matter how hard she tried. She slipped up to the defense table, touching her mother's back gently. "Mama," she whispered, her own voice unrecognizable. Julie turned, eyes glossy and distant. The moment their gazes met, Savannah's composure shattered. Tears she'd fought so hard to hold and finally spilled over. "We're going to get through this," Savannah insisted, though even she didn't know how. She needed to believe it, because she could tell her parents didn't. Todd reached over and brushed a tear from Savannah's cheek, his fingers trembling. For the first time in her life, she saw fear in her father's eyes, raw, unfiltered, and deeply her more human than the verdict. Behind closed doors, the private conference room was supposed to offer a moment of refuge, but instead it felt like a holding cell. Todd paced, running his hands through his hair as their lawyers spoke in calm, measured tones that felt wildly inappropriate given the chaos roaring through his head. "We will appeal," the lead attorney said. "There are multiple avenues. We shouldn't have to appeal anything." Todd snapped, his voice slicing through the air. "This isn't right. This isn't who we are." Julie sat silently, hands folded tightly in her lap. She wasn't angry, she was heartbroken. "Todd," she whispered, finally finding her voice. "We have to stay strong." He froze at the sound. Slow, controlled breaths entered and exited his lungs. He knelt in front of her, resting his forehead against hers like he had done in moments of crisis throughout their marriage. But this crisis was different. Bigger. Hungrier. "I'm so sorry, Julie," he whispered. Julie closed her eyes as tears slid down her cheeks. "We did everything we could." The media circus. Outside the courthouse, chaos erupted. Reporters swarmed, cameras flashed like lightning in a storm, and questions were hurled from every direction. "Do you have anything to say about the verdict? Are you planning to fight the conviction? What will happen to your children? Do you regret anything?" Security created a shield as the Chrisleys stepped out. Savannah kept her arm around Julie, gently guiding her toward the waiting SUV. Chase hovered near Todd, ready to intervene the moment his father's temper flared. Todd lifted his chin and pushed forward, but his face was pale, the corners of his mouth drawn tight. Julie kept her eyes down, unable to face the world's hungry gaze. The cameras caught everything, every tear, every tremble, every step that seemed heavier than the last. Back home, a family in freefall. Once home, silence filled the mansion that usually buzzed with laughter, noise, and personality. It felt foreign, like walking into someone else's life. Chloe ran into Julie's arms, sensing something was terribly wrong. "Mimi, why are you sad?" she asked softly. Julie hugged her tighter, breathing in the little girl's innocence. "Oh, sweetheart, sometimes grown-up things happen that are hard to explain." Grayson closed his bedroom door, unwilling to show how scared he was. Chase stood at the window, arms crossed, jaw tight. Savannah went into the kitchen, gripping the counter as silent sobs shook through her body. Todd walked down the hallway feeling like a man split in two. Part of him wanted to curl into himself and collapse. The other part knew his family needed him more than ever. He gathered everyone in the living room, his voice low and steady, though barely. "We are Chrisleys," he said, fighting emotion. "We don't fall apart. We fight, and we stick together. No matter what." Julie rested her head on his shoulder. Savannah wrapped her arms around her mother. Chase and Grayson joined. Chloe climbed onto Julie's lap. In that moment, their family, fractured, frightened, and uncertain, formed a single, trembling circle of resolve. The battle ahead. Night fell, but sleep didn't come. Tomorrow promised appeals, statements, lawyers, media, and uncertainty. But tonight, the Chrisleys stayed close, seeking comfort in the only thing that felt unshakable. Each other. They didn't know what the future would bring. They didn't know how long this nightmare would last. They didn't even know how to breathe normally yet. But they knew this. Whatever storm awaited them, they would face it together. And though the guilty verdict left them shell-shocked, crushed, confused, and aching, their story wasn't over.